Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. We are here today with Roland Esparza, who's the National Sales Manager for VPX Nutrition, Sports Nutrition, which you see everywhere in all the stores. They have some excellent products. Roland Esparza, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Glad to be on.
And so this is a very important sports nutrition company, and you have a background as a competitive fighter?
I have fought, not at a professional level, but I have competed in MMA. I have a martial arts background of about 35 years. And I've coached. I've also competed in wrestling and some other sports too. But I've always worked out as kind of a bodybuilder per se. You know, I've always taken that approach to my training.
By the way, what's MMA?
Mixed martial arts. So you'll see that Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC.
Yes.
That would be something most people can identify with. So.
And how did you first become involved with nutrition?
Actually, I used to read Muscle Builder magazine back in the 70s when I was a kid, and I idolized guys like Dave Draper, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Columbu, guys like that. Lou Ferrigno, of course, Incredible Hulk. And, I really got into that whole mindset of getting into shape, lifting weights, and trying to better condition my body. Both for aesthetics and for sports performance.
Sure.
So I came on at a very young age. So I've always been interested in that aspect of living my life. And, of course, the nutrition aspect and supplementation is a big part. In fact, 70% of your results in bodybuilding or any type of exercise platform. So that obviously led me into nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition, I think most athletes who maybe in the 70s maybe didn't really pay much attention to nutrition, or thought it was a little bit of a joke. Now the athletes seem very sophisticated, and the athletes really know so much more, and the coaches, and they pay attention so much more to nutrition than they did. Still, there's work to be done, but it's so much better than it was, say, in the 70s for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And by all means, our industry is always growing, always evolving. There's scientific research at the university level, especially with VPX Sports. We do a lot of university studies. But it has been proven that supplementation and nutritional products definitely will break you through plateaus and make you reach new levels in your sports performance and your physique appearance. So,
was it creatine in 1994 that was really kind of the breakthrough sports nutrition product?
Yes, I'd have to say creatine, also arginine, which helps blood flow to the muscle tissue. Those two items are definitely very big. And, of course, amino acids have always held their ground throughout. Mm-hmm. So, since the 70s even. In
the 70s, it was wheat germ oil, which still is good, vitamin E, and maybe some of the guys use brewer's yeast.
Yeah, brewer's yeast.
And some of the protein powders of the day now, in retrospect, seem a little on the weak side.
There were pretty bad,
yeah.
But obviously that's the evolution of anything. It takes time, research, and
so it's the new science why the products are so much better, isn't that it?
Absolutely.
The products are so much better.
Absolutely. I've been in this industry about 21 years now. I've worked in many different areas of this industry, and to watch it evolve as it has, it's really amazing. The type of research that's being done and the validation of the products and what they do in your body is really phenomenal.
I think back in the 70s, since I'm actually from that era, although I'm older than you, I go back to the early 70s. I think to a large extent it was kind of a worldview. People had a sense that nutrition was important, and you couldn't necessarily convince your friends or your parents or anyone else. But now the science supports all that. At one point, it was just like you had a sense that nutrition was important, and your friends just no. But now people say, oh, yes, if we get the sciences in place, that's why things are so much more popular, because the science supports the things that you felt years ago, right? It was kind of a feeling, had a sense, right?
Sure, absolutely. I think again, there's more validation through the studies that have been done, double-blind placebo studies and things like that, where before that wasn't being done. So a lot of it was just hearsay, so to speak. And when you see research that proves what these products do and the type of ingredients and things that actually yield results that are visible and obviously physical and performance. So, I mean, it's just a world apart from what it was in the 70s.
Roland, mention one of the studies that VPX has been involved with that you're especially proud of. A university study.
The NO Shotgun, MHF1, it's been proven to increase lean muscle by
Which product is this?
That's actually this product here.
Yeah.
This is one of our staple items as far as like the popularity.
What's the name of it called again?
It's called NO Shotgun MHF1. And the reason I state it that way is because we do have another shotgun product, which I'll talk about in a little while, hopefully. But this was proven to increase gene proteins 515%, lean muscle 181% over what you'd normally get without it. So it was a placebo study, double blind. Bench press, 1,108%. I mean, these numbers aren't made up. This isn't a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
Gotcha.
I mean, we do. The one thing I can say about our company, the owner, Jack Owak, he is amazing. He's a biochemist. He's a passionate bodybuilder, workout fanatic. He probably will outdo me any day of the week on any workout. The guy is just amazing, and he's very passionate about the products he puts out. So when we put something out, VPX says, hey, you know what? This is what it does. This is what it does because we've done the university studies. We've proven our products actually work. So
that's
important.
The confidence. It's not borrowed science. It's your own studies on your own product. Right. That's actually very important.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of good manufacturers out there. So yes. I don't want to ever knock anybody, but we do set the platform, and we are the cutting edge of this industry. I mean, basically, a lot of things we do, a lot of other companies will replicate or try to copy. And it's flattering to us.
Sure.
It definitely brings that competitive edge to the industry where I think the consumer ends up being the winner because there's always this, let me outdo this guy, let me outdo that guy. As far as manufacturers
go.
The
consumer, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I mean, it's always getting better. So like we've said, in the 70s, products weren't anywhere near what they are today, and that's probably part of the reason why,
why people now pay attention because they actually get results from these products.
Yeah, but this is a pre-workout product, and basically,
what does that mean exactly? Pre-workout.
Before you exercise, you take this product 30 to 45 minutes prior to exercise or activity. It's going to give you a stimulant effect, so it's going to stimulate your central nervous system and your adrenal system, and basically, in a nutshell, in layman's terms, that's energy. It's going to give you a lot of energy. Okay,
what do I mix that with?
You can mix it with water, juice, anything you want pretty much in liquid form. I don't know if it'd go too well with milk, but
but juice is a better choice.
Juice or water is fine. Okay. Yeah.
How much do I need to use?
Most people use about 12 to 16 ounces.
Of this powder?
No, 12 to 16. One scoop of the powder, 12 to 16 ounces of
okay,
liquid.
1 scoop of powder, yes.
Yes. So it's 1 scoop per serving. It's 28 servings to a container. The product is going to give you creatine, which we mentioned earlier, and that's going to help elevate adenosine triphosphate levels, or ATP, in the muscle cell. That is something that helps muscle energy and the ability to give you more repetitions with heavier weight. So obviously, if you're putting in enough nutrition in your body, you're going to get more muscle gain from that.
Yes.
So creatine. What we call nitric oxide stimulants. So those are going to be the nitrates or things that help blood flow to the muscle tissue. I don't want to get too technical, but vasodilators are things that open up your blood vessels to increase blood flow.
Right.
So you get more muscle pump. Blood is a carrier of nutrients into the muscle, so that's going to help as well. And then you have protein. We have 18 grams of protein in our pre-workout, and that's something that sets us aside from a lot of other brands.
18 grams is a very useful amount, is it not?
Absolutely.
It's not too much, but it's a good amount.
I mean, typically with a lot of stimulant products that are pre-workout, like this category, they tend to give you all the stimulants and things like that, but they don't give you the things to prevent catabolic muscle breakdown, or
right.
the tear down of your muscle tissue while you're training. That's why we put the protein in there. We have other amino acids in there, like branched chain amino acids, in a therapeutic amount to prevent muscle breakdown. So our product is basically going to give you more energy, more strength, protein, your muscle pump, and of course that's going to yield more gains in the long run.
And the fact that you have 18 grams of protein in that also keeps blood sugar stable, so it minimizes crash or no crash?
Yeah, I would have to say that you're going to find our product doesn't put you into a total crash. I mean,
right.
all of these products that are stimulants are going to give you somewhat of a crash feeling. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Right.
But yeah, I would say that. I mean, I've again been in the industry a long time, and I've always tried other brands just to see.
Of course.
I want to compare how
sure.
we stand up against other products, so I can speak from an educated personal standpoint.
Sure.
And our product definitely doesn't give you a real bad crash at all. I mean, it's definitely tapers off nicely. And the feedback and the sales on this product are phenomenal, so you can't argue with that.
And this is what product again? This is
the NO Shotgun, MHF1, but most people just know it as NO Shotgun.
And that improves peripheral circulation as well, so it improves circulation.
Yes, sir. Circulation, strength. Of course, the protein's going to help with that muscle gain and prevention of muscle breakdown. Blood carries nutrients into the tissues of the muscle, so you're going to get more gains ultimately.
And how long does this take to kick in? Let's say I was a 20-year-old man and I used a scoop, in a shot of water or apple juice, whatever. Would I feel it the first time I took it?
You would definitely feel it. Absolutely, the stimulant aspect and the pump. Even speaking from personal experience, where I wasn't able to train for a month, and I took this product, and this is before I even began working for VPX, but I've always loved the brand, and I've worked for other reputable companies in the industry, and I went back on the product and I felt it immediately. And most people that have tried our sample packets of it, which by the way we hand out everywhere, you could look at us on Facebook and find out where we're at, but you'll feel it. I mean, and that's the thing, when you try the product, you feel it. Over time, you're going to see those results, and you're spending your money smartly on a product that's going to do something for you. Whereas, some things you can't really tell sometimes, if it's
that's
really
right.
giving you a gain.
And some products just, they don't have much of a track record. How long has VPX been around, and how long has that product been around?
We've been around for about 17 years, I believe.
Good.
Yeah, I've actually, I'm not even exactly sure how many years I've been in this industry. Like I said, 21, and I met Jack Owak, the owner, right around the time he began into the market. So, about 16, 17 years. And the NO Shotguns.
Thank you very much. Nestor liked that. And so where can I buy this? Is this in Vitamin Shop and Major Muscle and a lot of other stores?
Sure. One of our best retailers in the Los Angeles area is LA Herb Fitness. They're located in Santa Monica and Marina Del Rey. Sure. Beautiful stores, great staff, very knowledgeable.
They have like 3 stores, don't they?
They have 2
stores.
Actually,
I know those 2 stores.
I don't know if
one's a new one.
George Salem's going to mind, but he's probably going to open a 3rd one.
Okay.
So I hope he doesn't get mad for me saying that, but they have an excellent store, excellent selection of not just the VPX brand, but every brand.
They do.
Their staff is unbelievable, very educated people. So I really refer most of the people I encounter to that store if they're in the West Side, Santa Monica area, or Marina Del Rey. Lindbergh Nutrition in the South
they've been around forever.
Oh yeah, since
they
1949.
Do very well. Yes, they do very nicely.
Yes, they have a very nice selection, very competitive in price.
Don't they have a guy named Gordon who works there, who's a competitive bodybuilder and is a man about my age and recovered from cancer? He's just kind of phenomena.
Yeah, he's actually a power lifter.
Yes.
And he has set some world records.
Yes, I know.
He's amazing.
I've chatted with him, and he has set many records. He's really he's accomplished a lot.
Yes, he's very, very amazing. The guy's and you know what? He's such a positive gentleman when it comes to just speaking in general. I mean, he has such an upbeat character. When you talk to the guy, you can't help but like him. So,
sure.
Very nice
a lot of
guy.
people do like him, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
they do like him.
Yeah, he's a good man, definitely.
Yeah. What's your second product that you wish to mention besides the this one, the Shotgun Muscle Tone? Now?
We've launched quite a few this year. I think our Carbonics is a product that I'd like to talk about only because it applies to pretty much anybody and
Carbonics
everybody.
Sounds like a band, really.
Carbonics. Okay. Yeah, as you can hear in the name, Carbonics. So it's It's a carbohydrate powder. The way we developed this product is in looking at the carbohydrate products that have been out there in the marketplace over the past years. They've been limited to mostly sugar type based products. We wanted to come out with something that was low glycemic, and basically that means it's not going to spike your blood sugar levels or create an insulin rush in your body, so you can still burn fat. But we still wanted to give you that endurance that you get from the carbohydrates.
Yes.
So this product, in a nutshell, and I try to keep it simple, is going to give you that endurance and enhance your workout performance, but you're still going to resort to body fat as a source of fuel because it isn't spiking your blood sugar. So it's a very long chain carbohydrate, or a carbohydrate that's going to burn over a long period of time, like yams or rolled oats or oatmeal.
Oh, so
or something like
is
that.
It waxy maize? What is your source?
It's a modified food starch, a dextrin, and there's two different forms of it, and I really don't get into the details of it. We have a lot of competitors out there trying to again duplicate what we do. So, but the nice thing is we have a 250,000 square foot GMP certified facility. That's good manufacturing practices.
So you are your own manufacturer.
Yes.
And can I ask where your facility is?
It's in Weston, Florida, which is just outside
Florida.
it's right by Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, for sure.
Beautiful area.
Know the area well.
I really hate going there, and I'm being sarcastic. That's so beautiful.
Oh, yes.
No, but the nice thing is that we have stomach acid simulation machines, HPLC machines, things that can actually verify what we're producing, and also verify that they're going to be acceptable to our gastric system or our digestive system. And that's the other thing about our product that really separates us, the Carbonics, is it digests within 15 minutes. Most of the other brands out there, and again, I don't bash them because they all have their purpose, but ours will digest quickly. It won't cause bloating, and for a lot of athletes, that's a big deal, including myself.
No, it's a very big deal.
I can't be in a situation where I feel bloated or uncomfortable while I'm training. So this is something you can drink it before workout, during workout, or after very comfortably, and know it's going to digest fast. It can also be mixed with just about anything: protein powders, pre-workouts, everything.
Yeah, if people are going to take a product and get all sorts of terrible gastric distress, they simply they won't use the product. They figure, no, I can't have gas all the time and be uncomfortable.
Sure.
And I remember products in the 70s, in retrospect, were so crude. We didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And people had all sorts of difficulties with many of them because they weren't in 250,000 square foot manufacturing facility. They just really were pretty primitive in retrospect.
Sure.
And the better products now work better because besides intelligent ingredients, the manufacturing is paramount. Because I've been to many excellent labs, and I've been to some that are mediocre, and I've been to some that I thought, how do these people pass code?
Yeah.
And so it's nice to hear that you have a 250,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Weston, which actually I know the area very well. For those of you just tuning in to Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Roland Esparza, the National Sales Manager for VPX Nutrition, is with us today, talking about some of their new products and some of their important products. What else do you have now besides the new carbohydrate product?
We've just launched our 12 gauge shotgun, and this product is actually a advanced, well, I won't say an advanced version, but a different version of our original shotgun, the NO shotgun product that I mentioned a little earlier. This product is what we would say is for more advanced athletes, and by that we mean somebody who wants a more intense muscle pump. They want more stimulants, so they want a stronger stimulant effect, so that means more energy while they're training, and not so much in the way of protein and other ingredients like that. So we've kind of removed some of the ingredients that were in the original NO shotgun, and then we added more stimulants. We added the Carbonics in there, which is giving you a little more endurance while you're working out, so there is some of that. And then Agmatine, which is again I shouldn't say again, but it is a vasodilator, so it's going to increase that muscle pump.
May I ask, what stimulants does VPX favor that they feel are the most advantageous?
Yohimbe hydrochloride, which is yohimbe bark, but it's more intense than just yohimbe bark. Evodia or Evodiamine, which is basically a central nervous stimulant.
Evodia, I'm unfamiliar with it. That's not a medication, isn't? Is that a
herb?
No.
That is a naturally derived.
It's an herb.
Yes.
Evodia.
Yes.
Okay. Is that new?
No, it's actually been on the market for some time. I recall seeing it 10 years ago.
Right.
We've taken things like that and keep modifying them some and trying to find ways to make them stronger or last longer or not have such a crash.
Is the Yohimbe considered a sexual stimulant as well?
Absolutely, yes.
Now remember, the word sexual stimulant, that's not a bad thing. That just shows it improves peripheral circulation.
Correct.
Right.
Yes. Typically, most of the libido-enhancing products, we do make one called Black Pearl. They increase blood flow. So, right. Yes. Excuse me. The last thing about this is that it has a different creatine base somewhat. We've increased the creatine, and it has leucine bonded with that creatine. So you're going to get what we feel is a better effect from the creatine. I shouldn't say better because actually they both have high-performing creatine bases in them.
And how much creatine do you like to recommend for, say, a high school football player or even a college ball player? Did they really need any more than 5 grams a day?
There's a lot of argument about that, and since I've been in the industry, I've seen some concern with athletes that are younger taking creatine, and there really isn't any founded study out there that's proven it's harmful.
It's not bad in any way.
No, 5 grams before, 5 grams after training, or you can do 5 grams 2 different times a day on your off days. So in other words, taking it every single day, whether you train or not, is the recommended amount.
And so for your sense of it is you like to recommend 10 grams a day rather than 5.
I do.
And you think that'll give me more weight gain? Is that it?
You're going to get more strength, more quick twitch muscle fiber performance. ATP levels again are elevated, and that's your muscle energy. So you're going to be able to move more weight for more reps, which, of course, again, if you're putting enough protein and amino acids into your system, which is the byproduct of protein, you're gonna gain. So if I'm moving heavier weight more times and I'm putting enough nutrition in my system, yes, I'm going to gain muscle. See?
Okay, here's a broad question: if a young man is to use 10 grams of creatine a day, in 30 days, would that young man gain 5 or 6 pounds of muscle?
That's not guaranteed because it really depends on other variables in their lifestyle. I mean, if it's a young man that eats consistently all day and has protein in his diet throughout the day versus a guy that misses meals, or a guy that's very active versus a guy that sits around and plays video games. Gotcha. I mean, all those things play a role in your ultimate gain, or a guy that sleeps versus doesn't sleep. Some kids these days, they stay up all night and they sleep 2-3 hours.
That doesn't work very long, does it?
No, it doesn't. No. And as far as the gains go, though, that can obviously affect your result. But if everything was static in those other areas, I would say probably 5 to 6 pounds would be a reasonable estimate of what they'd gain.
Do you have a straight creatine product that VPX manufactures?
We did, but we actually did away with it.
Right.
We just didn't feel it was viable for us.
Sure.
Most of the time, if someone's shopping for VPX sports products, they're buying our pre-workout or our post-workout, which is the NO Synthesize, and that's basically very similar to the NO Shotgun, our original pre-workout formula, but it just doesn't have the stimulants in it. I mean, that's to put it in a quick and dirty nutshell. So, but yeah, those are the products that most people turn to. So we just felt it wasn't necessary to continue with the creatine.
Sure. And we have a few minutes left. What about some of your beverages? I know the Red Line it's been popular for a long time, has it not?
Oh, absolutely. That's the product that is pretty much branded us in the industry overall, and also in the food, drug, and mass industry, which means our, gas stations, 7-Elevens, that type of thing. I mean, everybody that knows our product line would see us in those places, as well as nutrition stores.
Because the subject enjoys such credibility now that you don't have to just go to the natural food store, even though those are great. You can buy these products in many locations now. Is that
absolutely
correct?
Yes. I mean, we're pretty much worldwide, not nationwide. I mean, we do international business. So, but yeah, a Red Line drink is something that when people see the name, they're like, oh, I know that product,
Right.
versus some of our sports nutrition products, they don't really know necessarily we have those until we bring it out and talk about it. But we do have a major presence in every nutrition store practically from coast to coast at this point. So we've been very blessed to have good success with our line and a great loyal following. And without great customers, like I'm sure our listeners are out there, we wouldn't exist. So
Sure.
we appreciate our loyalty. But
it sounds great.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. And we're doing well, and we're coming out with a lot of great things.
Are you big in other places besides the United States? Where else? You everywhere?
Yeah, pretty much. Believe it or not, the Middle East, Asia.
I believe it actually.
All over Europe. We're just getting orders from everywhere and people coming in. We just did the Mr. Olympia bodybuilding show a few weeks back. And,
that was in Las Vegas?
Yes, sir. And we had people coming from Turkey, from you name it. I mean, every country you can imagine, Italy, Brazil. I mean, we just have people just swarming us for making business and distribution opportunities. So,
Roland, how can people get in contact with VPX?
Probably the best way to get a hold of us is vpxsports.com. So that
just
would
VPX on the website is vpxsports.com.
Yes, sir. That's the best way to find a store location to purchase product, which you can buy from our website, but we offer our products at full MSRP because we don't want to undercut our retailers
Sure.
and online distribution. You can also Google us and you'll find tons of online retailers. So as far as store locators go, though, you can see that on our website as well. So,
well, Roland Esparza of VPX Sports Nutrition, thank you for being a guest today on Here's to Your Health.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
It was fun. We are going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Walk, run, climb, play. Solgar number 7 can help. Feel the difference for yourself. Solgar number 7 actually shows improvement in joint comfort within 7 days. Now you can start to get back on track fast and pursue the activities you love. Solgar number 7 is a breakthrough in joint care with no glucosamine and no chondroitin. The advanced bioactives in Solgar number 7 help to increase flexibility, mobility, range of motion, and actually shows improvement within just 7 days. One capsule, once a day, is all you need. When stiff joints occasionally say no, Solgar number 7 says yes. Visit Solgar.com and learn more about Solgar number 7 today. That's www.solgar.com, www.solgar.com. Solgar number 7, official sponsors of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane and LA Talk Live.
Mountain Valley Spring Water, since 1871, has been bottled at the source in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Twice named the best tasting water in the world, Mountain Valley water is naturally alkaline and bottled in glass, providing the perfect blend of nature's minerals, giving you a crisp, clean taste. To start your home and office delivery in Southern California, call us at 1-800-499-9982 or visit us online at www.mountainvalleywaterla.com. New customers will receive their first 2 5-gallon bottles free. Mountain Valley Water, the official sponsor of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane on LA Talk Live. Oh, your skin looks great.
Thank you.
What's your secret?
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence.
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence?
Yes, it's a beauty secret used since the time of the Greeks and Romans. The spa in Malibu told me about frankincense and myrrh by Ancient Essence, and now my skin is lovely.
Well, your skin looks great.
Call Ancient Essence at 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Call 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret. Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Available at fine spas and beauty centers.
What makes you think you have the right to know?
I don't think you have the right to know.
Who do you think you are?
You want the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
Your puny little head would explode.
There are some things you just shouldn't know about, like what's in your food.
Why would you want to know what's in your food?
You shouldn't know whether your food is genetically modified.
It's kind of none of your business.
You might do something dumb.
Yeah, you'd do some dumb shit if you knew.
Like you'd be looking at labels and making decisions for yourself.
You might decide not to buy food that contains GMOs.
Certain companies would lose a lot of money if you didn't buy their stuff.
Knowing if you're eating or buying genetically engineered food is not your right.
It's just not.
Oh, maybe move to Europe or Japan if you want that right.
Or China.
Or India.
Or a lot of countries where people have the right to know.
But not here, baby.
Here in America, you don't get the right to know if you're eating genetically modified organisms.
Unless
you demand it.
Unless you demand that GMOs get labeled.
If there's nothing wrong with GMOs, why not put it on the label? Made with GMOs!
Demand that GMOs get labeled.
You have the power.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Vote.
Vote, and you get to know what's in your food.
Vote yes for the right to know.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. I'm your host, Joshua Lane, and our guest is Steve Schwartz, president and founder of The Art of Tea. Steve has been a guest on the show before. The Art of Tea has been very influential. Steve Schwartz has accomplished a lot in the world of tea, and tea is becoming very popular in the United States. Not that it always wasn't, but it's even more popular. Steve Schwartz, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very happy that you're on my show. It's nice to have the movers and shakers on your show. This is a lovely tea display. Is this Japanese?
No, this is Chinese of influence. Actually, more specifically, Taiwanese. It's a gung fu tray. Gung fu has similar roots as kung fu. Martial arts has had its influence not just in fighting, but also in general as an art form of expression and mastery, of self-mastery. And so this set, and tea in general, there's been political moves that have been done over tea. There have been wars that have been won and lost over tea.
Tea because it's a valuable agricultural crop.
Absolutely. It's literally changed our history from clipper ships to royalty, to health, to wellness. Nowadays we see it as a very modern beverage, something that we take for digestion, for health, for wellness, anti-carcinogenic properties. But really, at the end of the day, it's just a really nice tasting beverage that allows you to be mindful of the amount of water intake that you're getting, and if you're able to get theanine and catechins and flavonoids within the T2, that's just an extra bonus. So.
And that is that a classic design? Is that a new design? And what is that, a tea box, or is that I serve that at the dining table, or how do I use that display?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So I use this when I'm doing tastings, such as something that we would do today. This is a more intimate way of enjoying tea. This box is actually made out of bamboo, and then you have a sliding tray. So this is a traditional set, or traditional tea tray, but what's more modern about it is that after dumping the contents in, after a while you can just dump it out. So that's just a nice sort of twist on it.
Oh, I see. It does have a nice look to it. Oh, it's lovely. It's nice to have nice props, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the second part is, of course, the actual, I'll fix that in a second. The second part is actually the teapot itself. So this is where you would put the tea inside. If it's a tea bag or sachet, or if it's loose leaf, you'd scoop it out and put it inside.
Sachet mean tea bag?
Yeah, great question. So I brought a couple samples here. So this is a wellness line that we just created a few months back called it's an Ayurveda inspired line. And so we have tea for him, tea for her, happy tea, chill out, feel better. So it's sort of a fun spin on wellness. So this is a sachet. There's two different types of sachet material that you'll see out there. One is a nylon base, the other is a corn-based derivative. Ours is a corn-based derivative.
So the sachet, meaning the material holding the tea, is corn-based, and some of the other ones are what?
Nylon.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So that doesn't sound good.
Well, there's nylon, and then of course there's paper, like the traditional paper tea bag that you'd see in the market. And it's interesting. I was speaking with one of your collaborative senior directors and about coffee and tea, and I think most people associate the growth of coffee and what's happening with coffee as being more premium, but tea. Most people associate tea as just a traditional tea bag that you'd steep in, and not necessarily as high of quality or as quick of a response physically as what you get with tea.
With coffee.
That you would get with coffee. Right. Thank you very much. So obviously I'm a little slow. I haven't had my tea yet. So,
okay, good.
Thank
we'll
you.
Rectify that shortly.
Yes. So essentially, going back to the actual teapot, so you drop this in, fill it up with hot water, let it steep for the appropriate amount of time. Then you pour it into a serving bowl. So rather than taking the teapot and pouring it directly into the cups, what would happen is if I fill my cup up and then I'd fill your cup up, I would be tasting a lighter brew and you'd be tasting a much richer brew.
Oh, really?
So by pouring it into the serving bowl or mixing bowl, what would happen is as you're pouring all the contents in, it swishes the contents around, or the liqueur around, and then from pouring directly from here, one, it cools it off a bit with such a wide mouth, a wide opening, and then by pouring it in here, we're both tasting the same exact thing. So our journey of tea is on the same level.
Oh, that's very subtle, isn't it? That's very nice. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful display. And I just think in general, just a beautiful way of enjoying tea.
Now, if I remember correctly, your parents were involved with wellness, and so they instilled this in you. Is that it?
Good, good memory. So my dad was involved in therapy. My mom was involved in therapy. My sister's still involved in therapy today, so I guess I grew up in more of a therapeutic type household.
Sure.
But also a deep sense of entrepreneurship. That was definitely instilled in me at a young age. Sort of setting your own path and also teaching and mentoring. So not just, how can you know if you're growing? Well, one way that you can really know is by helping people and by sharing your knowledge and education. So that's always been an important part. There was a gentleman I studied with a number of years ago named Yogi Baba Hari Das, who lives up in Mount Madonna, who hasn't spoken in over 50 years.
He writes on a chalkboard.
Yeah. And he said, one of the major lessons I learned was teach to learn. So what I took from that is, in order to keep things fresh in your mind, you have to be able to share the knowledge that you know. And it's amazing how much knowledge, just as humans in general, we have. and just by sharing and by giving feedback and support and love, I think that we're able to really grow ourselves as well. So
I read Philip Goldberg's book called American Veda, in which he talks about the influence of the East on the West, and the teacher you studied with is mentioned as one of the significant teachers of the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Is he still living?
I don't know. You know, I just to get a little personal with it. You know, I was very fortunate to learn with him. I spent years studying with Dr. Vasant Lad,
Vasant Lad,
who has a wonderful institute in New Mexico called the Ayurvedic Institute. And I remember distinctively Dr. Lad saying that if you see a sign pointing to Santa Fe, for example, you don't stop and worship the sign. You know, what most people do is they say, wow, this is a beautiful sign. It's showing me the way. I'm going to offer flowers. I'm going to offer my sacrifices, whatever. Instead, you recognize the sign is showing you a way, and you go along your journey. So
you take what you need.
Yes.
And you move on. Right.
Yeah. So I think I met wonderful, wonderful people in both places, but both of them didn't necessarily want these followers to see them as a guru or see them as, you know, the stopping point.
Gotcha.
So I took their advice to heart.
I share a similar perspective on that myself. You know, you take what you need, you learn, and then you continue in your life path.
Yeah, and you share and you learn and you grow. And I also learned at a young age you can't force knowledge or growth on other people. You just try to be an example as best as you can.
You can try, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah, I remember my sister, you know, bless her heart, she's a very sweet woman, and she was studying to be a clinical psychologist, and I was sharing all this amazing knowledge about Ayurveda and how, you know, you're studying something that's only been around for a few hundred years, but I'm studying something that's thousands of years. And she, you know, very quietly in a nice way, just, you know, kind of is like, you know, as much information as you might have, I'm just not interested.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So,
right, for sure.
Yeah. So and now she's more open to it, but that, you know, that's certainly not by me, you know, forcing anything down.
Well, luckily the information on these importance of these medicinal teas enjoys almost mainstream status now, does it not?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty cool seeing. I always ask people, like, when you think of the word tea, what typically comes to mind? So I'll ask you that same question. So when you think of that word tea, what comes to mind? And it could be a thought, a memory,
that's interesting.
Location.
Actually, I think mostly sitting around with my wife, drinking tea, chatting like little birds. You know, the social aspect, I think, just immediately pops to mind.
Nice. So it wets the palate, allows more ease of use of the words, and just sort of. And if you think about it, water is fluid. Water moves, and it allows more freedom of movement within the body, and therefore allows more, you know, two people to be able to conversate. So intimacy and conversation and
yes,
memories.
I would say that's exactly what it conjures in my mind. Yes.
Nice. And it's leaves. You know, it's amazing that something that has been around for, you know, 5,000 years still has this effect of wellness or community, energy, relaxation. You know, think of all the business deals and all the secrets that have been poured over when people are sharing a cup of tea. It's really fantastic. So.
And your blends, you call your company Art of Tea.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember last time you were here, you mentioned to me that you felt there were 10,000 blends of green tea.
Yeah, there are. So if you take the word tea itself, all tea comes from one specific evergreen shrub called Camellia sinensis. So I'm going to get a little scientific here. So if you parallel it to wine, all wine comes from grapes, right? So depending on the type of wine that you get, it could vary on the varietal of grape, the origin that the grape was from, how it was stored, how it was harvested, the time of day it was harvested, and the actual processing of the grape. So in the same way, Camellia sinensis is the evergreen shrub that creates tea. Now, depending on the varietal of the Camellia sinensis, the location and time of day and how it's processed. So white tea is picked and dried. That's it. green tea is picked, it's either steamed or wok roasted. There's other ways of making green tea, but those are the two major ways.
Steamed or wok roasted?
Yeah. So, for example, you go to a Japanese restaurant, you get steamed green tea. It's very grassy, very seaweedy, aquatic, type tasting, lots of mineral content pulling out of the cup. And then if you get green tea at a Chinese restaurant, it's a little bit more roasted. And if you think about the cuisine that comes out of China, a lot of their food is stir-fried and wok roasted. In Japan, it's more steamed vegetables, fresh fish, more islandy type culture in the cuisine. And then oolong is anywhere from 1% to 99% oxidized, meaning they manipulate the leaves, they crush and massage the leaves after they're harvested and let it sit out in that fresh mountain air for anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. So sometimes they don't actually start the roasting and the drying process or cooking process till midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. And then black tea is 100% oxidized and 100% cooked. And then there's one final level, and that's called pu'er. And pu'er is a fully fermented tea. And I'm telling you, we could have a full session just on pu'er. It's really dynamic. Studies have shown that it's helped with cholesterol and heart disease. And just speaking, I've dropped my cholesterol 60 points. I don't even know if points is the right word, but just by drinking pu'er consistently. I took a blood test from within a 2-month span, and it dropped 60 points. So that was just by drinking pu'er every day. Personally, I'm not, but there are tons of study out there on pu'er. Now, if it's not from Camellia sinensis, then what is it? Well, there's another category called tisane, and that's chamomile and rooibos and hibiscus and lemongrass, all these other botanicals that don't actually that don't actually come from tea. So
I guess you're quite right. So those really are, we call those herbal teas, but what is the more correct term?
Tisane or tisane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I should call those tisane.
Yeah, I should call them tisanes. So,
but only green or black tea, which is the same bush, can be called herbal tea.
Right. So white, green, oolong, and black, and pu'er, all from Camellia sinensis. So those are true teas.
Does the white tea, because it's the least processed, from my perspective, I don't know anything. Does it have more food value?
Great question. Because it's the least processed tea, that's a beautiful leading question. If it has more polyphenols and catechins and flavonoids, all the antioxidants that are packed into tea. It also has more caffeine. So, but the main thing that really drives in the amount of caffeine that you're going to get out of a cup is how long you actually steep the tea. So if you take black tea, which has less than white,
I see.
But black tea, if you steep it for 5 minutes, and white tea you steep for 2 minutes, the white tea will have less caffeine because you didn't steep it as long as the black tea for 5 minutes. So
all these subtleties, I did not know this.
There was a thought a few years ago that if you take tea and you just pour water over it quickly, dump that water out, that you've decaffeinated the tea. That is false. There's 2 studies that came out of one came out of America, the other came out of Australia, that totally debunked that theory. So it's a false theory. And even a lot of packaging. There's a lot of packaging that shows that black tea has more caffeine and green tea has less and white tea has less, but that's also false. Because what happens is in the springtime, this Camellia sinensis evergreen shrub has been sitting dormant all winter long, and there's a sap that sort of sits down in the roots. And as that winter frost starts to, slowly pull itself off of the shrub, and spring starts to enter into this next phase, the sap starts to rise up, and all its potency then goes into these first buds, which is white tea. And so all that potency is in there. So more health benefits, more caffeine. Now, when we think of caffeine in tea, we often associate caffeine as being negative. Some people, obviously a lot of people drink it, so there's some positive aspects to caffeine. Yes. But the type of caffeine that you find in coffee is different than the type of caffeine that you would find in tea. Caffeine, if you look at the bean, it has a strong stimulant, a strong amount of caffeine, and you have a deeper extract. It requires much more bean to make a cup of coffee than it does leaves to make a cup of tea. So you get a nice sharp spike, but you also get a crash associated oftentimes with coffee. Tea has properties in the leaf that combat the negative side effects of caffeine. So you get an elevated mental rush. Some people call that tea mind. It's a level of clarity that you get. And it's this nice rise that sort of comes up, and then you come back down to your normal state. There's no actual crash that's associated with tea because of the properties within the leaf that combat the negative side effects of the theanine or the caffeine that's found within tea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there are some other teas. There are some amazing botanicals that we have and blends that we have within our wellness line.
Wait, just hold on 1 second. For those of you just tuning in to Here's to Your Health, we have Steve Schwartz with us from his company, The Art of Tea. And Steve is one of the new young leaders in wellness and certainly in herbal teas. And by the way, where can we get Art of Tea products?
Great question. So we have a website, artoftea.com. That's the number one way to find. We have over 200 different teas and blends. We also sell at fine restaurants and hotels, cafes. So our focus is predominantly hospitality. We're also in a number of spas. We do work with some Whole Foods and high-end gourmet retail stores.
Sure.
But our focus is predominantly hospitality, as well as our website at artoftea.com.
So, and you blend. You're most happy with the blends you've created. Is that it?
Well, it's another great question. You know, we take a lot of pride in what we source. So we source high-end botanicals. We have relationships with our farmers around the world, so we know where our herbs and our teas come from, and we know the ethics that are put into the companies and into the families that are producing our crops. And then we also take a tremendous amount of pride in our blend. So we'll take these ingredients that we are familiar with on a deep level, and we blend them. And so typically when someone orders a tea, that's when we blend it, that's when we pack it with a lot of intention in mind. We see our blending area as sort of a sacred space. So we'll play music, have to have a positive attitude, a positive mindset. With that said, you were talking about levels of certification in your last interview. We are organic certified. In fact, according to CCOF, our organic certifier, we carry the largest variety of organic teas on the market.
Wow.
We are kosher certified through OU. We are fair trade certified, and we're going through GMP certification right now.
And fair trade means what?
Wow. So I keep saying, "Oh wow," because you're really good at this. You're asking like asking such great questions. So fair trade is a philosophy, but it's also a methodology to in partnering with growers from bananas to coffee beans to tea to a number of other products, ensuring that the standard of the workplace environment is suitable for the employees, and that the money that goes into fair trade, so we pay a premium on our teas, it does not go directly back to fair wages. What it does is it goes back to better the environment of the workers. So for example, a lot of the workers they have families. So we've seen directly, and there's a video on our website at artoftea.com/fairtrade. There's a beautiful video, and I really wanted to explore what does fair trade mean, and how does it impact our environment? And when you're buying a fair trade product, does altruism really exist within buying a fair trade product? So
that is a fair question, is it not? You want to make sure that indeed it's not some sort of silly, without any kind of basis, just the term that the term has meaning.
Right. So with that in mind, there are organizations that oversee, and they're very clear about this amount of money goes towards administrative costs, and this amount of money goes towards the estates or to the community. Now, there are pros and cons to fair trade. So I've seen directly hospitals and schools built and lighting where there was not lighting, and these are communities that are already well off as far as tea production, but bettering their community and having those dollars go right back to the community has been a really positive experience. Where fair trade, in my opinion, has room to really grow, there's a small lack of transparency between how they spend their money. It has to go back to the community for funding weddings, community centers, wheelchairs, so on and so forth, hospitals, ambulances. But there's another organization called Rainforest Alliance.
Yes.
And they detail to the exact penny where every single penny goes towards.
Oh, that seems positive.
Yeah, I like that. I like that system a lot. And the tea industry is slowly gravitating more towards Rainforest Alliance. So both are great. I think it's better to do something rather than nothing, and to be actively involved. And so we're very verbal about where fair trade is going, and very active as a company.
Okay, thank you, because that is an important concept. And many of our listeners, they know the concept, but others have heard it, but they don't really know. And it is a meaningful concept as opposed to the term locally grown, which really, unfortunately, doesn't have any kind of legal definition. And so it doesn't matter that the strawberries are locally grown in
Ventura.
Yeah, up in Ventura, because they're heavily sprayed. I don't want those. I don't want the ones that are heavily sprayed. So I don't care that they're local. I want them to be certified organic.
Yeah, and certified organic.
That's just the way I work.
A lot of times, and there's also a confusion between certified organic and natural, because people think it's a fruit, it's natural. What could be wrong with it?
Heavily sprayed, and again, really, it's like in every subject, there's when you're 95 years old, there'll be room for you to be teaching people about tea. People always need to know this subject, much the way we hire men and women who are electricians or plumbers because they focus on that, or they build buildings, or they design cars. Everyone has their expertise. And so what's going to happen, I think, in the future is you're going to be in demand as a teacher of the subject. There'll be no more having to convince people that teas are good for them, green teas, black teas, but there's going to be a need for someone to explain to them how to use them properly. And that's a nice thing.
Yeah, there's something so therapeutic about just taking a few minutes out and making a great cup of tea. There's a ceremony involved in it. There's a ritual that's involved in it. And it's not one to dictate what's the right ceremony for one compared to the other, but it's really just taking that time out and adding just a piece of mindfulness to your day. It's amazing how we can just get sort of clogged down or foggy or just in our own sort of, the rat spinning its wheel within our heads, and boom, there's just those moments throughout the day or throughout the week where you're awake for those few seconds. And how can you capture that moment? Well, tea for me and for millions of other people, it allows them to just sort of connect, regroup, tackle their senses, get involved, add that intimate dialogue with yourselves or with another person. It's amazing. We're talking about what's going to happen at 95 years old. I'd like to stretch that limit to 200. I mean, we hear about our ancestors living hundreds and hundreds of years old. Like, why not? And why can't tea be part of that medium? Why can't it be not the answer, but why can't it be part of the answer?
One of the answers.
Yeah, for delivering a lifestyle where we can dance at our great grandkids' bar and bat mitzvahs. And
I think that's very doable. Yeah. And are there any blends that you happen to be particularly enamored? I see. Is this a new one? The Feel Better blend?
Yeah, Feel Better blend it's fun. It's great. So we have a wide variety of loose leaf teas, and then we also have a wide variety of sachets as well, and iced teas.
I see. Excuse me. This one, the Feel Better blend, seems very progressive. It also has an organic neem. Now, is not neem in India one of the principal herbs? This is just like it does everything kind of herb.
Yeah. So neem is a phenomenal tree. There's a farm in Florida where you can actually purchase neem trees.
Oh.
They promote more ozone than any other tree or botanical in the world. So more people need to plant neem trees. So I'm sure you can go to neemtree.com or neem tree plantation in Florida, and if you can Google it.
Do they grow here in California? Everything grows here in California anyway.
Yeah, you can easily grow it in California, and they grow to be these very dynamic, very large, beautiful trees. You can use the bark for medicinal properties, the leaf for medicinal properties. Now, the leaf is by far one of the most bitter tasting things you could have in your entire life. It is so extremely bitter.
Wow.
But a little bit goes a long way. So if you blend it with some other ingredients, such as we did with our Feel Better blend, that bitterness takes on a property that can complement something that's sweet. They say bittersweet, right? So
yes.
The dark chocolate, you need that bitterness in order to really appreciate the sweetness, and vice versa. So neem has its place.
And may I ask,
it blended
this blend, do you work with a team that comes up with this? I mean, after all, you have linden flower, which is European, which you've paired with neem. So are you responsible for this blend?
Yeah, so I drive my wife a little crazy. I talk about tea all the time, and I'm coming up with new ideas and new recipes. And I have a little notebook next to my bed where I'll wake up in the middle of the night, like thinking about some recipe or a name. And so we explore over 200 different teas a year, but only about 4 or 5 of them make the cut each year of what we actually produce. So each blend that we have goes through a timeless process. So we have I have a lead blender that I work with. So I'll come up with the initial recipe and he'll duplicate the recipes. Then we have a quality control coordinator, and so he'll make sure that the batches are consistent. So if you're ordering this tea in January, it should look and smell and taste exactly the same. And 6 months later, a year later, 3 years later. So consistency is totally key for our company.
Let me ask you a question about linden flower. Since that's a very popular European herb. Why are you using linden flower? What's the medicinal benefit?
Linden flower has it's shown to have antioxidant type properties, antibacterial, antifungal. It's great for stimulating the kidneys. Oftentimes when we're sick, we're sensing stagnation in the liver and in the kidneys, and those are 2 areas where by mild stimulation we're able to help push out excess toxins and excess toxins within the body. So it helps to just push it out much faster. So instead of overriding the system, what you're doing is you're working with the body's natural immune system and enhancing it, giving it the armor that it needs to be stronger. And linden flower is one of those. It's one of those botanicals that not only tastes amazing, but it also happens to be really good for you.
And so what you just described is really traditional healthcare or medicine. The use of medicinal teas is something that we have used for at least several thousand years. It's not new. It's traditional medicine, is it not?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's not new, but and what is new? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, we're sitting here.
It's a fair question.
But it is a spin. This blend is not based on any traditional wellness formula, but based on my studies in Ayurveda, it's important that each botanical complements each other. For example, if you need to access your email, there's a certain password that you need to have in order to access your email, whether it's capitalized letters, numbers, symbols. And if you mistype one letter, you cannot get into your email. Right. So the same thing happens.
An apt analogy.
The same thing happens with the blend of tea. So all the ingredients alone don't necessarily stand up as strong as they do when combined together. So one ingredient plus one ingredient doesn't necessarily mean 2. Oftentimes it could mean 3, or it could mean 4. So you're enhancing, you're multiplying the power of the botanical, both in a flavor and health and wellness profile, by blending them together.
And this particular blend, the Feel Better blend, I'm assuming by looking at the medicinal herbs used, it has a lovely taste, right?
You'll be the judge of that. You know,
we seem to have a great taste, really.
I'd love to prepare you a cup.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm happy to try it. And also, I like nice tea sets, and that's a very lovely tea set. It's just very nice, and it's nice to have nice tea equipment, actually.
Yeah, there's something about the ceremony of tea. I would agree with you.
Okay, so this is from Art of Tea. Steve Schwartz is the president and founder of Art of Tea, and this one is called Cleanse. And the Art of Tea is sold, according to Steve, mostly at spas and restaurants where you do particular blends for each restaurant or spa.
Yeah. So, for example, at Caesar's Palace, they opened up a 50,000 square foot spa, and they flew me out once a month for a year and a half, and I trained a tea sommelier at Caesar's Palace. And then we also
what's the term?
Tea sommelier. So they also
that's the head man who explains the blends.
Yeah. So
at Caesar's Palace.
At Caesar's Palace.
And they're interested. And is it going well?
Yeah, it's gone very, very well.
Oh, that's nice to hear that.
So we've created a signature blend for them, and then we've also paired each tea with each specific treatment that's offered at the spa. So they have over 50 different treatments, and both couple massage and individual massages and treatments. So we've paired a different tea with each treatment. So that was a really fun project, really fun project. And part of that was the inspiration of creating the Ayurveda line.
Caesar's Palace. I'm happy to hear that they, are into a little bit of wellness there.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they definitely could use it in Las Vegas.
Yeah, not to cast aspersions there, but oh, thank you very much.
Right.
Alrighty, and so can I get a little sample of this? Is that a little taste? You
I'll make the Feel Better blend.
Okay.
So
good.
This is a sample pack. What you're seeing here is what the actual retail tin looks like.
And again, these sachets, what's the material you make of these? These are not cotton, but these are what?
These are made out of a corn.
Corn,
yeah,
that's right. Corn.
And it's totally biodegradable, which is great too.
For those of you just tuning in to Here's to Your Health today on LA Talk Live, Steve Schwartz, the president and founder of Art of Tea, is doing a little modified tea ceremony with us with his lovely equipment. And what blend are we drinking?
This is the Feel Better blend.
Feel Better blend. And so you pour the entire blend into this steeping pot in an effort to make sure that when you pour out individual cups of tea that each person gets the same blend. Is that it?
Yeah, exactly.
One's not more potent than the other.
Yeah.
I love the delicacy of that, actually. I really do like that a lot.
Yeah, it's made out of porcelain. It's got just a beautiful feel to it.
Yeah, they look nice.
It's got a wide opening.
Look very nice.
Really precise pour. And it's Taiwanese made. Taiwan's known for making really, really beautiful porcelain, very durable. This is more for tasting. This isn't something that if you're preparing a large pot, obviously we have tons of different pots from ceramic to cast iron to glass. This is more just for really honing in on your taste. Now, while this tea is steeping, I kind of want to walk you through how to evaluate a quality tea. So
sure.
When you've probably gone through a wine tasting before, and this is similar to wine tasting, but because the liquid is hot, there's a small step that you would take in between. So the beauty of these cups is that it has sort of this lip that arches over. So as you're drinking the liquid in, it just sort of whispers over the top into your mouth.
Very nice.
So as you're sipping it, what you do, I'll talk about it, and then I'll demonstrate it once the tea's ready, and then we'll do it together.
Sure.
So as you draw the liquid in, you swish it in the front of your mouth, and then you quickly swish it back so it covers all the taste buds. And the steam that permeates will then, after you swallow, the steam will go up into the olfactory senses. So over 80% of what we taste is actually through our sense of smell. And then there's one final step, and that's just by closing your lips and taking a breath out through your nose. And that also pushes out excess steam in through the nose, and you're able to get a much more significant taste. So this slurping action is something that you wouldn't necessarily do if you're just having tea with your wife, But if you get a tea for the first time, it's something that you would, if you want to understand the quality of it, you would go through this tasting. So when I visit estates in China...
Steve, do me a favor.
Yes.
We're chatting with Steve Schwartz from Art of Tea. We'll be back with Steve, but first we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Walk, run, climb, play. Solgar number 7 can help. Feel the difference for yourself. Solgar number 7 actually shows improvement in joint comfort within 7 days. Now you can start to get back on track fast and pursue the activities you love. Solgar number 7 is a breakthrough in joint care with no glucosamine and no chondroitin. The advanced bioactives in Solgar number 7 help to increase flexibility, mobility, range of motion, and actually shows improvement within just 7 days. One capsule, once a day, is all you need. When stiff joints occasionally say no, Solgar number 7 says yes. Visit Solgar.com and learn more about Solgar number 7 today. That's www.solgar.com, www.solgar.com. Solgar number 7, official sponsors of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane and LA Talk Live.
Mountain Valley Spring Water, since 1871, has been bottled at the source in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Twice named the best tasting water in the world, Mountain Valley Water is naturally alkaline and bottled in glass, providing the perfect blend of nature's minerals, giving you a crisp, clean taste. To start your home and office delivery in Southern California, call us at 1-800-499-9982 or visit us online at www.mountainvalleywaterla.com. New customers will receive their first 2 5-gallon bottles free. Mountain Valley Water, the official sponsor of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane on LA Talk Live. Oh, your skin looks great.
Thank you.
What's your secret?
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence.
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence?
Yes, it's a beauty secret used since the time of the Greeks and Romans. The spa in Malibu told me about frankincense and myrrh by Ancient Essence, and now my skin is lovely.
Well, your skin looks great.
Call Ancient Essence at 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Call 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret. Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Available at fine spas and beauty centers.
What makes you think you have the right to know?
I don't think you have the right to know.
Who do you think you are?
You want the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
Your puny little head would explode.
There's some things you just shouldn't know about. Like what's in your food.
Why would you want to know what's in your food?
You shouldn't know whether your food is genetically modified.
It's kind of none of your business.
You might do something dumb.
Yeah, you'd do some dumb shit if you knew.
Like you'd be looking at labels and making decisions for yourself.
You might decide not to buy food that contains GMOs.
Certain companies would lose a lot of money if you didn't buy their stuff.
Knowing if you're eating or buying genetically engineered food is not your right.
It's just not.
Oh, maybe move to Europe or Japan if you want that right.
Or China.
Or India.
Or a lot of countries where people have the right to know.
But not here, baby.
Here in America, you don't get the right to know if you're eating genetically modified organisms.
Unless
you demand it.
Unless you demand that GMOs get labeled.
If there's nothing wrong with GMOs, why not put it on the label? Made with GMOs!
Demand that GMOs get labeled.
You have the power.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Vote.
Vote, and you get to know what's in your food.
Vote yes for the right to know.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. I'm your host, Joshua Lane, and Steve Schwartz is here. We're doing a tea ceremony with Steve Schwartz, and we made a nice, was it the Feel Better blend?
Yes.
And you want to walk us through it?
Yeah. Feel Better blend is great. We have another tea that I'd love to be on the show again, and we'll do Happy Tea next time. The interesting thing about Happy Tea is whenever you just say the name and you want to offer someone a cup of Happy Tea, they automatically smile.
It does actually sound good. It does. Yeah, it really does.
It is. And we actually, if you go to Hotel Bel Air, that's their signature tea, just so you know. So anyway, so Feel Better blend. I did let this steep just a little bit extra.
All right.
And also the tea that's in here, it has tons of different botanicals. Now this pot is made more for larger leaf teas like Taiwanese oolongs. Mm-hmm. So you can see how it's perforated. That's its filter. So what we're about to do is something that you would find if you're sourcing. If you're going to different estates in China and other parts of Asia, and you're at the estate level or at the farm level wanting to really understand the quality, this is the experience that you would sort of walk through.
Yes.
So now I'm going to pour it from here into the serving bowl.
And again, the serving bowl allows each cup of tea to get the same combination.
Yes.
Same strengths. Okay. So that's very subtle. I like that a lot.
Okay. So I poured it into the serving bowl, and now I have both cups. And I'm going to take it a little one step further. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour each cup 3 times. And I'll explain why in just a second. I can't talk and pour at the same time. It's
all right.
I don't know if it's a tea disability or what, but okay, a little more than 3 times. Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
So why 3 times? And then I'll walk you through the actual tasting. So you pour 3 times.
Smells great.
Because with tea, you want to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It reminds us that we need to make quick, clear decisions. Right? I think one of the biggest problems that we have within our economy, within our world today, is just not being able to make a decision, right? And so tea reminds us that you have to start and you have to, sort of process what you're going through, but within a short period of time, you have to close it, whether it's a yes or a no. You make a decision. You can always make another decision after that. And
okay. Yes.
So with there's a beginning, a middle, and end, and there's also a level of intention. So you're pouring with intention. So that's the deeper side of the tea. Now let's go back to the tasting. Again, I described earlier that you would sip, you draw the liquid in the front of your mouth, you quickly swish it back, and then you breathe out through your nose. So now I'll demonstrate. You ready?
Oh, I see. Get to make a little noise too, is that it?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Good.
Then you slurp it back. So
this, by the way, is a delightful blend of tea. This is very good tea. I like this. I like to go on record as saying that I drink a lot of tea, and I enjoy tea, and I know tea a little bit. This is a very nice blend.
Thank you.
This is a lovely blend of tea.
You're just saying that because you feel better.
That could very well. Yes, that's right. I feel better. Yes. No, it's really delightful, light combination of really subtle. It's nice. It's very. It's nothing too much. Nothing too much of any one thing. It's very nice. Oh my goodness.
The interesting thing about, I think, just feeling better in general is, on a very subtle level, we always feel really good, right? We always feel really good. And sometimes we're too busy realizing just how amazing we feel. Whether it's like, a hangnail, that could be distracting us, being stuck in traffic, an illness one time or another. But on a very deep level, if we just tap into it, we realize, man, we feel really great. So one of the things I love about this blend, it's just another subtle reminder of how good we can feel all the time if we just try to focus as best as we can, regardless of our physical or mental state, focus on that level of gratitude and that level of just feeling great.
Steve Schwartz, Art of Tea. Thank you for being a guest on Here's to Your Health.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for your time. Much. Appreciate it.
We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages. That was a good...
Journey Sisters is an organization that embodies and captivates women from all walks of life. Our membership includes 44 women that are constantly growing in the areas of personal development and community involvement. Monthly, we offer free leadership classes at McCade's Restaurant. Journey aims to inform women in the areas of heart disease and HIV and AIDS. Experience the journey now by logging into www.journeymosaicinc.com BroxyLife.com. Toll free 888-906-5519. Journey with no excuses.
Broxy, maker of fine laptop apparel, laptop covers and sleeves, iPhone covers, and unique home decor. Broxy laptop sleeves are made to order and can be custom made to fit your computer. Just send a message with your order telling us the model and the dimensions of your laptop, and we'll make you your very own sleeve in whichever design you choose. Any of the pillow designs can be turned into laptop sleeves too. Remember, Broxy for all your computer embellishment needs. You can find Broxy at www.broxy.com. That's BROKESY.com. And remember to tell them that you heard it here on LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
What makes you think you have the right to know?
I don't think you have the right to know.
Who do you think you are?
You want the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
Your puny little head would explode.
There's some things you just shouldn't know about. Like what's in your food.
Why would you want to know what's in your food?
You shouldn't know whether your food is genetically modified.
It's kind of none of your business.
You might do something dumb.
Yeah, you'd do some dumb shit if you knew.
Like you'd be looking at labels and making decisions for yourself.
You might decide not to buy food that contains GMOs.
Certain companies would lose a lot of money if you didn't buy their stuff.
Knowing if you're eating or buying genetically engineered food is not your right.
It's just not.
Oh, maybe move to Europe or Japan if you want that right.
Or China.
Or India.
Or a lot of countries where people have the right to know.
But not here, baby.
Here in America, you don't get the right to know if you're eating genetically modified organisms.
Unless
you demand it.
Unless you demand that GMOs get labeled.
If there's nothing wrong with GMOs, why not put it on the label? Made with GMOs!
Demand that GMOs get labeled.
You have the power.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Vote.
Vote, and you get to know what's in your food.
Vote yes for the right to know.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. I'm your host, Josh Lane. And we have a guest now, Ann Gentry, restaurateur, who owns Real Food Daily, which is one of the premier restaurants in Los Angeles, natural foods wellness restaurants. And luckily in Los Angeles there are many, but I think that Real Foods Daily is my personal favorite. Ann Gentry, welcome to Here's to Your Health. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Now, your restaurants, how long have you been a restaurateur here in LA?
You're not going to believe it, but next summer, 2013, 20 years.
20 years, that's a long time.
Yes.
That's really good. And Real Foods Daily is in Santa Monica?
First location opened in Santa Monica, West Hollywood, and then we just opened out in Pasadena in May of this year.
And where are you in Pasadena?
We're on Del Mar Street, right where it coincides with Lake, in between Colorado and California. They call it the South Lake District.
Okay. Okay.
Great neighborhood.
Very nice. And is the menu the same as the Santa Monica location?
Yes, it is. Yes. And in fact, should I tell you now?
Go ahead.
Since you love our TV dinner, I know that.
Yes, I do actually.
We just had a big menu change yesterday. We started in Pasadena. We'll be moving it to, in a couple of weeks, West Hollywood, and then Santa Monica. Big change. No more TV dinner. I should tell you now.
No, am I dating myself? Is that it? Is that just the older people want to eat that now? Young people want something different?
Well, look, we've had it for so many years. I wouldn't
goodness.
say 19 years, but maybe 15, 16 years. So it was just time. We're really talking about bringing Real Food Daily into the 21st century, being on the cutting edge, which we've always been, staying on the cutting edge. And so it was just time for a big upheaval.
And so, now that was a tempeh dish, was it not?
Yes.
Yes, and so...
No. TV dinner is seitan, wheat gluten.
Oh, TV dinner was seitan.
No, you're right.
it's tempeh.
You know it better than I do.
Tempeh,
yes.
Tempeh.
TV dinner is tempeh, and the seitan was the Salisbury seitan. So very similar because they both come with the mashed potatoes and the vegetables.
And so, are you moving away from tempeh? What's the direction?
No. We are committed to good quality, organically grown soy products in the form of miso, tofu, tempeh. Mm-hmm. We're definitely trying to eliminate all the sort of excessive soy through soy milk. Anywhere we can take that out of some of our recipes we have and replace that with all the other great quality non-dairy milks. But we're a plant-based restaurant, and our protein comes from plants. And one of the best places to get protein from plants is soy products, beans, and legumes. And so we're not going to move away from that, even though I did painstakingly put on my menu soy-free, gluten-free, nut-free, because those are the big, issues today with people conscious and eating well, and a lot of people can't have these things in their diet for whatever reason. So we definitely told people in this new menu rollout, we've always told you what was in it. In fact, I think we've told you way more than any other restaurant that I know of what's in our food, because it's transparent. We want to share that with people.
Well, that's why people go to the restaurant, because they want to eat in a place where they know they are the customer. They want to go where they're comfortable. I know my wife and I, we go there because we don't have to fight with the waiter. We know exactly what we want, and the waiter knows what we want. That's why we're there. And that's important, because when you go out, you want to have a nice time. And when Real Foods Daily, the food is great, the service is excellent, the decor is lovely, the other patrons always seem very stylish and delightful, which is part of the ambiance. It's just a fun experience, in my opinion. And I really mean that, because when my wife and I go out, we just are happy there, and because you do everything right. We are tough customers, and we are happy there.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I'm assuming that most of the other customers are tough customers as well, and they're also happy because when they go, it's busy.
I don't. Tough is not the word I would use. But
well, discriminating, picky. Oh, picky, absolutely picky.
Demanding.
Picky. Demanding. Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think, okay, Real
Used
Foods
to
Daily,
getting what they want.
Yes. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right.
But that's the west side of LA. I have good friends who opened a restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia. They said it was the easiest opening we ever did because nobody wanted to change anything.
Oh, I see.
They just accepted the food as it was.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that could be very true about the west side of LA. I'm not saying no to that. I think there's a lot of truth in what you're saying. And how did you get involved with opening a wellness restaurant, a gourmet wellness restaurant?
Well, short story. My life, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee on a standard American diet. I didn't know anything about, good quality. I knew good quality food from a Southern perspective. Yes. I came from a great, long line of great home cooks, did not know how to cook myself, moved to New York City, pursued another career, got a job in a natural foods restaurant there, changed my life.
Paradox or Cauldron?
Oh, I'm not that old.
Okay.
I am
actually. I am. I've eaten them both. They were lovely, really.
That's what I hear. They were fabulous.
Yes.
It was probably the generation after that. Right. Whole wheat and wild berries.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Greenwich,
yes.
6th Avenue and 10th Street.
Yes.
Changed my life. Ate at Angelica's Kitchen,
Candle
Fantastic. Cafe. I mean, when I go back there, that's where I go now.
Absolutely, yes.
And great establishments came out here, thought this would be the mecca of natural foods. This was the late 80s. There was no place to eat.
Yes, right.
Yes,
right.
This was pre-Whole Foods. It was still Mrs. Gooch's. She didn't have a deli counter. There were a couple of independent restaurants, but I just couldn't believe that there was no place to eat here.
Right.
So long story short, I ended up starting a home delivery service in my home kitchen, and that morphed into, I'm going to open a restaurant, and that's what I did in 1993.
Wow. Well, and I assume that everyone loves your restaurant?
I hope so.
And I see you have these, are these some new cookbooks?
Well, the Real Food Daily Cookbook's been out since, 2005, mm-hmm. and that holds, in fact, TV dinner, Salisbury seitan.
Yay.
So those recipes are well documented for the public for forever. And then last summer I put out Vegan Family Meals. That's my lovely family on the cover, along with me. And that was, again, many of the restaurant favorites, but definitely geared more toward cooking for yourself at home. Less of a restaurant cookbook made for a home cook, but more just for the home cook.
Gotcha. And are you still serving on a Kukicha tea?
Yes, love the Kukicha tea. How about that? I'm glad you know how to say it.
Yes, that's just fantastic tea.
It's
really.
A great tea.
The big mug of tea they give you, it's fantastic.
Yes, and I have to train all the new waiters that come in, like, no, you do not need to offer anything sweet and or a lemon to go in the Kukicha tea.
Right.
to be drunk as is.
So would you say that you are macrobiotic in orientation? Was that your original orientation from years ago?
That was my original orientation into learning how to cook. Definitely. Once I became a vegetarian and eliminated many things from my diet, I stumbled upon macrobiotics, and that's where the encouragement was. You must learn how to cook, because if you really want to heal yourself, and I was not sick, there was nothing wrong with me, but to deeply heal yourself on a lot of levels, you should be cooking for yourself. So I learned on a grain and vegetable-based diet, and I brought that into opening Real Food Daily. So definitely deep, in the premise and the philosophy of what we're about. It is based on the 5 elements, the Chinese 5 elements of how you look at food and how you look at life, and macrobiotics, yin and yang. And we've gone way beyond that. I mean, we're definitely, as they say in the macrobiotic world, wide.
Wide, okay.
And in our offerings. But certainly somebody keeping a macrobiotic diet, or if they did at one time, can come in and go, oh, I can get macro food here.
I think they'd be very comfortable, frankly.
But we are a 100%, vegan restaurant, no animal products, no animal byproducts whatsoever. Our commitment to organic produce, not just the produce, but the ingredients, is huge. And so I think we bring a lot of different elements together under one roof and make a lot of different people happy. And most people eating with us, they're not vegetarian, they're not vegan. They just want good quality, delicious food in a great environment with friendly, educated service and a place to, feel good about being at and feeling maybe better after you eat there.
Well, after they eat there, they realize not only was it fun to go out, but the food was good, and the food sits lightly on the stomach, and they enjoyed the taste of the food. And even if they had no background with this food whatsoever, they would think, oh no, that was a fun experience. That was just, I'd eat that food again.
Yes, thank you. And so I would like to let the world know that we are about to open out in LAX, not too far from here. I think we'll be the first organic vegan restaurant in a national airport, if not an international airport. Thank you.
Well, that's nice. It's nice to do that. I mean, as a business person, you think, no, I want to be successful. And with a concept like Real Foods Daily, I mean, you're pushing the envelope there. I mean, that's a progressive stance.
Yes, I think so too. Well, what's happening out at LAX is they're coming around wanting to change all of their food offerings and really bring in the flavor of Los Angeles, all these various different restaurants that have been in LA for a long time. And that's certainly how we got, offered and invited in. But, doing what we do, yes, it is. We're definitely pushing the envelope, yes.
Wow, it's really very nice. And once again, we're speaking with Ann Gentry, owner of Real Foods Daily. And where's your new restaurant again in Pasadena?
Pasadena, 899 Del Mar Avenue, right at the corner of Lake Avenue, which is a, huge cross street. In fact, the whole, corner is a big cross, north, south, east, west. And yes, we're learning our neighborhood out there. It's a whole nother world from the west side, and we're doing great. And we would like more and more people out in that whole area to, know about us.
Well, Pasadena is a great area. And what about your flagship restaurant in Santa Monica? What's the address?
Santa Monica is 514-516 Santa Monica Boulevard between 5th and 6th Streets, about 2-3 blocks off the very famous Santa Monica Promenade.
Sure.
And in La Cienega, which we refer to as West Hollywood, it's sort of where West Hollywood, LA, and Beverly Hills all merge together. And that address is 414 North La Cienega between Beverly and Melrose.
Are you open every day?
We are open 7 days a week, 11:30 till 10. And we have a weekend brunch. Yes, to all my fans out there, for years we've been doing Sunday brunch, and we are now doing Saturday and Sunday brunch. Already in Pasadena and starting November 3rd at Santa Monica and West Hollywood. So people are thrilled, because where else can you get a really great, delicious, satisfying vegan brunch? Scrambled tofu, French toast, pancakes,
gotcha,
waffles. Yum, I'm hungry. I'd like to have some of that right now.
Oh, it sounds really very good. We are speaking with Ann Gentry, the founder, the owner of Real Foods Daily in Los Angeles, and opening shortly at LAX Airport. Ann Gentry, it's been a pleasure having you on Here's to Your Health today on LA Talk Live. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after these messages. It's good.
Bottled at the source since 1871, Mountain Valley Water is the deepest operating spring in America. This naturally alkaline water, with a perfect blend of minerals, has a crisp, clean taste that's twice been named best tasting water in the world. Mountain Valley Water has been served in the White House for 13 presidents, but it's also served kings including Elvis Presley, whose only requirement on tour was 2 6-packs of Mountain Valley Water. Delivered to your home or office in glass bottles, Mountain Valley Water will give new customers in Southern California their first 2 5-gallon bottles free. For more information, call 1-800-499-9982 or visit us online at www.mountainvalleywaterla.com. Mountain Valley Water is the official sponsor of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane on LA Talk Live.
Walk, run, climb, play. Solgar number 7 can help. Feel the difference for yourself. Solgar number 7 actually shows improvement in joint comfort within 7 days. Now you can start to get back on track fast and pursue the activities you love. Solgar number 7 is a breakthrough in joint care with no glucosamine and no chondroitin. The advanced bioactives in Solgar number 7 help to increase flexibility, mobility, range of motion, and actually shows improvement within just 7 days. 1 capsule once a day is all you need. When stiff joints occasionally say no, Solgar number 7 says yes. Visit Solgar.com and learn more about Solgar number 7 today. That's www.solgar.com, www.solgar.com. Solgar number 7, official sponsors of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane and LA Talk Live.
What makes you think you have the right to know?
I don't think you have the right to know.
Who do you think you are?
You want the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
Your puny little head would explode.
There's some things you just shouldn't know about. Like what's in your food.
Why would you want to know what's in your food?
You shouldn't know whether your food is genetically modified.
It's kind of none of your business.
You might do something dumb.
Yeah, you'd do some dumb shit if you knew.
Like you'd be looking at labels and making decisions for yourself.
You might decide not to buy food that contains GMOs.
Certain companies would lose a lot of money if you didn't buy their stuff.
Knowing if you're eating or buying genetically engineered food is not your right.
It's just not.
Oh, maybe move to Europe or Japan if you want that right.
Or China.
Or India.
Or a lot of countries where people have the right to know.
But not here, baby.
Here in America, you don't get the right to know if you're eating genetically modified organisms.
Unless
you demand it.
Unless you demand that GMOs get labeled.
If there's nothing wrong with GMOs, why not put it on the label? Made with GMOs!
Demand that GMOs get labeled.
You have the power.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Vote.
Vote, and you get to know what's in your food.
Vote yes for the right to know.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. And our segment now, an important topic. Jeffrey Smith has a book out called Genetic Roulette, talking about the problems associated with the use of genetically modified organisms in our food supply. And Jeff Smith is on tour right now and calling in. Jeff, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's a great pleasure to have you on the show today, and my co-host right now, Ann Gentry, the restaurateur who owns Real Foods Daily, is also going to ask you some questions. Jeff, for the listening audience, what exactly are genetically modified organisms?
Well, you take genes from one species, like bacteria or viruses, and force it into the DNA of crops like soybeans and corn. The primary reason they do this, which is not found in nature, it's completely artificial and done only recently, is to create crops that can withstand doses of otherwise deadly weed killer. So the companies like Monsanto sell both Roundup Ready soybeans and Roundup herbicide. They also create corn and cotton plants that produce their own toxic insecticide that breaks open the stomach of insects to kill them.
Well, the way you describe it, it sounds like potentially that could be bad for people and animals and plants, possibly other plants as well. And so is it your contention that there's a problem with the science behind these products?
Well, the FDA scientists back in the early 90s, when they were to look at GMOs and make a recommendation, were of uniform mind that it was a different technology than had ever been used before, that it entailed unique risks, and that it was dangerous. They said that the FDA should require long-term studies, deep toxicological studies on every single product. But the person in charge of policy at the FDA was the former attorney of biotech giant Monsanto, and later Monsanto's vice president, now the U.S. Food Safety Czar back at the FDA.
Who is that?
While he was in charge of policy, he said no testing is necessary, no labeling is necessary. Companies like Monsanto, who told us that PCBs, Agent Orange, and DDT were safe, can determine on their own whether their GMOs are safe.
Well, Jeff, that does sound, Jeffrey Smith, that does sound rather damning. Who was that individual?
That was Michael Taylor. Now, unfortunately, he's now the U.S. Food Safety Czar in charge of U.S. food safety, and the concerns by the FDA scientists have been validated, and they've been vindicated because the American Academy of Environmental Medicine, looking at the animal feeding studies, said there is so much damage to the animals fed GMOs that every doctor in America should prescribe non-GMO diets to every patient. So now that there are thousands of doctors doing just that, we've interviewed many of them, many of their patients, and people are getting better from a wide variety of diseases and disorders, the same ones that have been afflicting the laboratory animals that are fed GMOs.
Now, you just mentioned that this fellow Mike Taylor is serving in the current Obama administration, so therefore I assume that this is not a Democrat-Republican issue, that Monsanto has clout with both the Democrats and Republicans and kind of tells both parties what to do?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. They've had bipartisan support since the Reagan era, and the United States has been the bully on the block around the world trying to force GMOs into other countries, while their own scientists are very, very concerned about the health prospects.
Now, let's just talk about other countries. If we were in Germany right now, are genetically modified corn products or other products, are they allowed to be sold?
They're allowed to be sold legally, but the food companies, including Kraft and McDonald's and Burger King and Nestle's, have long ago committed to European consumers not to use GMOs. If they did, they'd have to be labeled. This was because a gag order was lifted on a scientist who was an industry pro-GM scientist back in 1999, and he revealed what he knew about the dangers of GMOs, and over 700 articles were written in the UK press alone within a month. Consumers became alerted to the health dangers, and within about a week, virtually every major food company committed to stop using GM ingredients. So although they're legally allowed there, the food companies that still continue to sell us GMOs unlabeled in the United States long ago have stopped using GMOs in Europe.
So Jeff, let me just recap this. So you're saying that in Great Britain, was it 1999 you said?
Yep.
So an industry insider scientist mentioned the problems associated with the use of GMOs, and all these major international food corporations voluntarily chose not to use genetically modified organisms for their customers in Europe.
That's right.
I see. And why are we using them in the United States?
Well, hardly anyone knew about GMOs for many years. There was just a few of us trying to ring the bell and get people's attention. But now, as people learn about the health dangers, including last month's study that found that rats that were fed genetically modified corn had up to 80% of tumors, cancer, early death, and organ damage, so much so that the Russian government banned genetically modified corn within a few days of its publication. We don't hear that kind of information in the United States. What we hear is largely news that's bought and paid for, where there's an attempt to dismiss, distort, and deny the evidence of the problems by the biotech industry, chiefly Monsanto.
Yes. Now that was Jeff. That was a very strong statement. Now the French study, which showed tremendous tumor growth in the population of mice that they used, you feel that study was valid, and is that your opinion?
Oh yeah. In fact, the other side, the biotech industry, was so desperate to try and stop this completely damning study that they came up with completely unscientific challenges. They said first, oh, the rats used in the study are Sprague Dawley rats. They get cancer anyway. Well, if you look at the control group compared to the treated group, there is a total difference in the level of tumors, and Monsanto uses the same type of rats when they do their GMO studies and they study Roundup. They claim that the control group wasn't big enough. Well, the control group size was the same size that Monsanto used, and they sometimes use smaller control groups. So if they are coming up with anything, it's just throwing basically fake distractions, but they're doing it with a very highly paid, very well-organized PR team so that they're echoing the same attacks, even though they don't have any scientific basis. But there's dozens and dozens of scientists who've come out in favor of this research, saying that it is important, it is valid, and it does show health risks.
So, Jeffrey Smith, you're saying that Monsanto criticizes the French study, but they use the same strain of mice as what Monsanto has always used, and the control group size was mimicked the Monsanto study, so that the French scientist was really was obviously patterning his research after the Monsanto research.
As a starting point, you see, Monsanto stops its research after 90 days. But at 90 days, these rats did not show tumors or signs of cancer. Yes. It only started in the next month after all the industry studies have stopped. One of the aspects of this study that's particularly unique is it went 24 months, the full life of the rats. Also, they investigated a lot more parameters, and they also had some treated groups that only ate, or only drank, in fact, Roundup, which is the herbicide by Monsanto that's used with Roundup-ready crops. They found that the rats were damaged whether they had Roundup-ready corn plus Roundup, the Roundup-ready corn without the Roundup, or the Roundup without the corn. And that's, again, a unique, far more detailed research showing that both components that Monsanto sells, both their corn and the Roundup that's used to treat it, can link to cancer, organ damage, and early death.
We're speaking with Jeffrey Smith on the phone, who is on tour right now, promoting the idea that we should vote yes on Prop 37 so that we Americans in California have the right to know what is in our food supply. Jeffrey, it seems obvious that the information you offer is valuable and correct. Why is it that most of the major news outlets seem to be opposed to it?
There has been an interesting block on reporting on the health dangers of GMOs at least since 1998. The Project Censored described the whole whistleblowing in Europe that we described earlier as one of the 10 most underreported events of the year in the United States. We see that there's been a bias in terms of editorial reporting, etc. It could be a combination of influence from the board level. It could be a combination of fear of loss of advertising revenue. We know that when Fox TV was about to report on the health dangers of bovine growth hormone with two investigative reporters, 3 days before the 4-part news series was to air, threatening letters from Monsanto's attorney, ultimately promising dire consequences to Fox and Rupert Murdoch, canceled the series. Yes. So there's overt threats as well as there's concerns about loss of advertising revenue and commingled ownership, so to speak, so that the forces that stand to lose if the health risks become exposed may be calling the shots.
That was very succinctly said. What do you suggest we consumers do today? What should we do?
Well, in California, it's very important to look beyond the lies that no on Prop 37 people are giving. They claim that the passing of Prop 37 would increase prices. In fact, there are 61 countries that have labeling, and prices haven't gone up in any of them. And labeling does not increase prices. Basically, someone calculated independently that if all of the costs for all of the foods that were labeled as GMO were passed on to customers, it would be a total whopping cost of 73 cents, a one-time payment. But that's actually not going to happen. There's going to be no increase in costs. There's no increase in lawsuits, in spite of what they say, because there's no money in it. I just had lunch with a trial lawyer who's been doing class action lawsuits for years, and she said, no one's going to handle this because it's specifically designed not to enrich the pockets of lawyers. Likewise, they say that it's inconsistent in its labeling, and yet they use completely false examples where they point to something that's not genetically engineered and said it wouldn't be labeled, and they point to something that is genetically engineered and it would be labeled. So they're using confusing tactics to try and get people to vote against their best self-interest. So I think in California, the most important thing is not only to vote for Prop 37, but to add your voice so that your friends and family and network can know about it, because we don't have the more than $1 million a day that they're spending to disinform. We have people power.
Jeffrey Smith, you are a very strong advocate and well-spoken on this subject. You want us to vote yes on Prop 37. May I ask, do you think that there's a chance that indeed enough people will vote yes and that it will pass? I mean, it's hard to predict the future. What do you think?
Well, we started off with more than a 2-to-1 lead in the polls, but after the $1 million a day expenditure by the other side, we lost the strength of our lead down to about 7 points. And that was the last poll released about 10 days ago or so. So we don't know where it is today, but we do know that there's a core of people who know the truth, who are completely antidoted to the lies by the biotech industry, or are familiar with the fact that Monsanto told us that PCBs, Agent Orange, and DDT were safe, and had lied about it and been convicted and fined millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for their lies. They're the same company that's in charge of determining whether their foods are safe, and they're creating research that's basically tobacco science. They've got bad science down to a science where they rig their research to avoid finding problems, and we've caught them red-handed. Moreover, when scientists do find problems, they're typically fired, silenced, gagged, threatened, etc., and we've documented this over and over again. But unfortunately, it has had an effect, and there's very few studies done on GMOs independently, and those that come out, like the French study, are inappropriately attacked on their merits, where in fact the study shows that the foods are unsafe.
Once again, we're speaking with Jeffrey Smith, who urges us to vote yes on Prop 37, and Jeffrey Smith is very well-spoken on this very important subject. And Jeff, if we're speaking with Jeffrey Smith, if people wish to contact you to learn more information about this important issue, how do we do that?
Okay, there's a number of websites I'd like to give. The first is not my website, it's the Prop 37 website. It's one of them. It's called LabelGMOs.org, and you can get the straight scoop on what's true about the issue, what's true about the proposition. Our main website is responsibletechnology.org. You can sign up for a newsletter, sign up for a daily blast where you get a video to pass on Facebook, etc. And we have a lot of materials that you can view online. Our film, Genetic Roulette, The Gamble of Our Lives, is free online until the end of the month at geneticroulettemovie.com. There it's an 85-minute film. You can watch doctors who prescribe non-GMO diets, parents of autistic kids, mothers, veterinarians, farmers, all talking about the health impacts of GMOs and what they've seen firsthand. And then finally, to avoid GMOs even before they are labeled, it takes a little time to figure it out because they're not labeled, go to nongmoshoppingguide.com. NonGMOshoppingguide.com has thousands of products that are third-party verified as non-GMO. It's also available as a free iPhone application, Shop No GMO.
What do you mean third-party verified?
There's a group called the Non-GMO Project, and in order to get verification, you have to submit the documentation about your product to them. If you have any at-risk ingredients from the 9 genetically modified food crops like soy, corn, cotton, canola, or sugar from sugar beets, then you have to get the inputs tested to make sure it falls within the standard. So it is a pretty rigorous testing program, a rigorous verification program, and they have now close to $3 billion of sales of products that have been verified. It's exploding. In fact, non-GMO labels are one of the fastest growing label claims in America for the past 3 years because more and more people are learning about risks and more doctors are prescribing non-GMO diets.
Jeffrey Smith, the information you offered, I think, is right on the money. I certainly do hope that Prop 37 is passed. So once again, you want everyone in California on November 6th to vote yes on Prop 37. Is that correct?
Yes, and I think that we'll find that not only will prices not go up, but I think some smart companies will realize that people don't want to eat GMOs, and there'll be a wider assortment of healthier non-GMO foods. And I think that since we've seen an increase in some of the health problems that are found in the lab animals fed GMOs, they're on the rise in the U.S. population since GMOs were introduced, I think we'll have a healthier society once we get rid of GMOs altogether.
Jeffrey Smith, I completely agree with you. You're calling in today, so you're on the road promoting the idea of voting yes on Prop 37. Where are you going to be speaking over the next few days?
Well, if you go to responsibletechnology.org, you can go to our tour schedule. I'm going to be speaking this evening in San Diego. I'll be on TV in the morning tomorrow in San Diego, then the next day in L.A., and the next day after that in L.A., the next day in Oakland. And rather than giving the details, go to responsibletechnology.org to find where I'm going to be.
Jeffrey Smith, it has been a great pleasure having you on Here's to Health today on LA Talk Live. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. Please vote yes on Prop 37. That was good.
What makes you think you have the right to know?
I don't think you have the right to know.
Who do you think you are?
You want the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
Your puny little head would explode.
There's some things you just shouldn't know about, like what's in your food.
Why would you want to know what's in your food?
You shouldn't know whether your food is genetically modified.
It's kind of none of your business.
You might do something dumb.
Yeah, you'd do some dumb shit if you knew.
Like you'd be looking at labels and making decisions for yourself.
You might decide not to buy food that contains GMOs.
Certain companies would lose a lot of money if you didn't buy their stuff.
Knowing if you're eating or buying genetically engineered food is not your right.
It's just not.
Oh, maybe move to Europe or Japan if you want that right.
Or China.
Or India.
Or a lot of countries where people have the right to know.
But not here, baby.
Here in America, you don't get the right to know if you're eating genetically modified organisms.
Unless
you demand it.
Unless you demand that GMOs get labeled.
If there's nothing wrong with GMOs, why not put it on the label? Made with GMOs!
Demand that GMOs get labeled.
You have the power.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Vote.
Vote, and you get to know what's in your food.
Vote yes for the right to know.
Vote yes on Prop 37.
Oh, your skin looks great.
Thank you.
What's your secret?
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence.
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence?
Yes, it's a beauty secret used since the time of the Greeks and Romans. The spa in Malibu told me about frankincense and myrrh by Ancient Essence, and now my skin is lovely.
Well, your skin looks great.
Call Ancient Essence at 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Call 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret. Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Available at fine spas and beauty centers.
For more information about the guests and sponsors of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, please call us at 818-707-0005.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.